welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel, depending on how long we've known each other. Today, it's a big day. I happen to have a very large collection of Hoya Lacunosa varieties and a few Lacunosa hybrids that I just love because I'm obsessed with Lacunosa. I know I've mentioned it in a few videos previously that I think among all, I don't know, I have over 250 varieties of Hoya, so it's hard to say that I have a favorite. My favorite plant is Hoya. But before we get into talking about my Lacunosa variety, I just want to tell you guys about Vessi shoes. I know I've talked about Vessi shoes so many times in the past, and I'm gonna talk about it again. I love Vessi shoes. I have 3 pairs of their sneakers. I have a pair of their slippers in the other room. These are the everyday sneakers, and these ones are the Cityscape. Personally, I love the Cityscape sneakers. They are my favorite, and I just think that if you're looking for a really comfortable, cozy, waterproof, snowproof sneaker, Vessi is totally where it's at. I've been wearing Vessis pretty much nonstop since October of last year, and it's the end of May. I really do, I leave them by the door. They are my on-the-go shoe. I prefer them over anything else. And I wear them everywhere, whether I'm hiking or I'm going to the supermarket or I'm just running outside to meet a guy who's delivering a package to me. Throw on my Vessi shoes because they're so easy to slip on. Like I said, they're waterproof, they're snowproof, they're made of Dynatex, which keeps you nice and warm in the winter. I can vouch for that because I did just spend an entire winter wearing them, but they keep you nice and cool in the summertime. It is true. They're really, really nice. They're airy, they're light. That's the best part about them, I think, is that they're light. No, you know what? The best part about them is that they require no breaking in, period. The moment that I put them on my feet, it was like putting socks on. It was so comfortable and cozy. I hate it when I get a new pair of shoes and you get blisters on the back of your feet and all that. Not the case with Vessi. It's literally like putting on socks. You'll see that I'm a person who really prefers black and gray shoes, but they do have limited edition colors. So go ahead, check out their website, check out all of the sneakers that they have. They're constantly throwing out new series, new colors, all sorts of things like that. And if you use the code BetsyBegonia or you follow the link down below, you can get $25 off any pair of Vessi shoes on the Vessi website. So go ahead, check it out. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. I've had many people tell me that they have used my code to purchase Vessi shoes and they were super satisfied with their purchase and they're really happy with their Vessi shoes. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And now we can move on to Lacunosa. I forgot to mention that they are vegan and sustainably made, okay? It's a good shoe brand. It's a good shoe. It's a shoe that I feel really good wearing. The end. So, down to business. I've had a lot of people beg me to please show my Lacunosa collection on Instagram, via DM, in my comments, on my YouTube comments, even in the Discord channel. Feel free to join the Discord server. It's called the Begoners Discord server. Begoners is just my silly word for Begonia or people who love begonias. The Discord server really has nothing to do with begonias or people who love it. We have channels. Okay, boomer. We have channels about, different plant species and genus. We have a plant ID, a plant clinic channel. It's a really wonderful community where everybody is very kind to each other. I established it back in 2020 when, the whole world went into lockdown, and it's just a really wonderful group of people who have found each other, and the channel is growing rapidly lately. I'm just so happy about it, so feel free to join. Anyway, sorry for that rant. I want to start with the first Lacunosa that I ever bought. I bought it at a plant. Oh, my shirt is tight on my shoulders. This is gonna be problematic. I bought it at a plant nursery in Paris called Jardinerie Truffaut, or Truffaut garden center, I guess is what you could call it. So I don't know the origin of this Lacunosa. It was really just sold to me as Lacunosa, and this used to be a much bigger plant. It was actually a massive pot full of cutting after cutting after cutting that they had jammed into the pot. And I mean, this thing used to bloom and bloom and bloom. And unfortunately, I think it was in 2019 or 2020, there was a drought and I just couldn't keep up with all the watering. But I was able to save a cutting of this beautiful Hoya Lacunosa. And it's growing really well now, and I'm really happy. It was one of my first Hoyas to bloom, aside from Bella, but Bella is not very fragrant. I remember I went on holidays to like Portugal or something, and I came home, and I thought that my house guests, the people that I had let stay in my apartment to watch my cats while I was gone, sprayed some kind of like gross potpourri or like old lady perfume. I was like upset about it. I was upset. I was walking around the apartment like, what did they, I'm happy that they cleaned, but like, what did they spray? And then I discovered it was a Lacunosa, and it like changed my perspective completely. I was like, oh my God, it's wonderful, it's so beautiful, and it smells so good. Next on my list is a Hoya that I purchased under the name Lacunosa Barang Terengganu, but actually it must be Terengganu. Let me double check that. Double checking. Terengganu. Yes, you'll see it on the screen. It's just a misspelling because Terengganu is not a place and Terengganu is. So I figured out on my own that that was clearly a misspelling. And I purchased this because in the photos that I saw of it, you'll see this shirt. Why did I do this to myself? I'm gonna do a costume change halfway through a costume change. Can you tell I studied theater? Okay, you can see the leaves. You see how they have these beautiful red splotches? It's just fantastic. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it doesn't really even need to be in super high light. It's just, it seems to be like a natural feature of this Lacunosa. I just think it's spectacular. It's different from any Lacunosa that I have seen. It also displays one feature about Lacunosa that I really, oh my God, does it have a peduncle? No, not yet. Okay, I got really excited. You know, it shows this feature of Lacunosa that I really love, and it's this asymmetry of the leaf. They all look wonky. They're different sizes. Every single leaf is different from the other. And that is something that this is one of the reasons that Amazon is here. Throw on my Vessies and go get my package. And we're back with a costume change. Yes, this shirt is a little bit wrinkly, but I look good in pink, and that shirt was restricting my movement. So, where was I? I really love that every leaf is a surprise. And when a Hoya starts to develop a new leaf, there's a little bit of excitement in not knowing what that leaf is going to turn out to look like. Like, you know it's going to have the typical pattern. If it's like a Calistophylla or it's Finlaysoni, you know it's going to have like the light green color with like deep green veins going through it. But there's always a little bit of mystery in what size it's going to be, how it's going to be shaped. There's just something about that I really love. I really like the asymmetry of it, which is also a reason why I loved begonias to begin with, because it's an asymmetrical leaf. And I just really appreciate the distinctiveness of each leaf on a Hoya. You'll have to forgive me. I do this often in my videos. All I want to talk about is Lacunosa, and then I end up talking about people's imperfections and what makes us special. Next on the list is Hoya Black Queen. I have shown this in a previous video. I think it was like my 5 most rare Hoyas of my collection. If I recall correctly, I think it was that video. And this is a rare Hoya. I purchased it from the collector, the vendor who created this Hoya, or rather, I think accidentally, because she said that Black Queen is a cross between her Hoya Lacunosa Eskimo and an unknown father. Sometimes that'll happen. You have a bunch of Hoyas in bloom, and some moth or bee or small insect will cross-pollinate them, and you'll end up with a seed pod, and you don't know, like, you know what the mother plant is, obviously, but you don't know what the father plant is. So that's how she got Lacunosa Black Queen. Now you'll notice that mine is not looking so black anymore. Her plant looks quite black, and I think it's because I'm keeping it in one of my grow tents where the light is very high. So I imagine that this is kind of a sun stressing of this Hoya, and that if it gets too much light, it loses that rich black color. So I think I'm gonna take it out of the tent. Next I have, who are you? Royal Flush. This is Hoya Lacunosa Royal Flush. It's just beautiful. If I could get the camera to focus on it, there you go. And you'll see that really deep, rich, lovely leaf. It has a really nice amount of splash on it, and when the leaves first start to grow out of it, they are this really deep, beautiful, rich color. It's a beautiful, splashy Lacunosa. And you'll see, like I'll show you some comparisons between some of these Lacunosa. You'll see that some of them are similar to this, where they don't have the sort of indentations in them the way that the first Lacunosa that I showed you did. Royal Flush, though, it's apparently a cultivar from what I gather, but I don't know, or a hybrid, sorry. It's apparently a hybrid from what I gather, but I can't find a resource telling me what it is a hybrid of. If you have information about where Royal Flush came from, please feel free to share it in the comments down below, because you know me, I'm always really interested in the origin of plants and who named them and where they came from. I have here, it was sold to me as Lacunosa Perangin Durian. Actually, it's Lacunosa Durian Perangin. It's named after a waterfall where it originated in Malaysia. And it is, when I tell you, this is the cutest little Hoya Lacunosa. As far as, like, from what I've read, it has the smallest leaves of any Hoya Lacunosa. It is just so absolutely adorable. It has splash. It's everything that you could possibly want in a teeny tiny little Lacunosa. It's so cute. I love it. This was gifted to me as, oh gosh, I think like a 2 or 3 leaf cutting back in January, and my how it has grown. She sold it to me as Hoya Lacunosa Silver, if I remember correctly, and I think there really is no official name for this Hoya as far as I'm aware. It doesn't actually have a hybrid name. It doesn't have a registered name. It's just a very silver, like it's a variation with like a lot of silver. Especially compared to Hoya snowcaps, which I'll get into later. And I think that this is the mother plant for Black Queen. I could be wrong. From what the vendor of Black Queen told me, she had found the seed pod on this plant, which was Lacunosa Silver. She may have said Lacunosa Eskimo, but it's so hard for me to tell the difference between these silver Lacunosa / possibly krohniana. Like it becomes so difficult to tell the difference between them. And that's why I really wish people would stop calling things silver this, ghost that, silver ghost, ghosty silver, carnosa silver, ghosty ghost, Lacunosa silver ghost. Like, get a thesaurus. That's all I'm saying. Because I can come up with like 80 other words that you could use. You can call it Lacunosa Herald. It doesn't matter. If I see it with my own eyes, I'll be like, oh, Lacunosa Herald is silver colored. Cool. You don't have to call it silver. You don't gotta call it ghost, folks. Oh my God, it drives me crazy. Because then, I'm sorry, I am gonna go on a rant. I go on the internet and I try to find like, you know, blah, 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 silver ghost or ghosty, whatever, blah, 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 silver. And like a million results pop up and I never know like what's what, because nothing is ever official. None of these plants are official hybrids. Like none of these have officially been registered. It just makes me crazy. And then you don't know, well, should I buy that one? Is it the same as the one that I already have? I only see 2 pictures of it from this vendor. If you ask that vendor, they have no clue. Like they're just like, I don't know, it's called Eskimo Super Silver. And you're like, yeah, but is it the same as the one that I bought called Eskimo Silver? Like it's just, you know, it's so disorganized and it's already... It's a genus that already has so much fuckery surrounding taxonomy and origin and name that like it just ain't helping that people are like, I don't know, it's called Silver Shiny Ghosty Ghost. It makes me crazy. Moving on to Lacunosa Borneo. I bet you can guess where this comes from. Oh, I'm not recording on my cam too. Oh, goodness gracious. I'll take B-roll if I wasn't recording for the last 2. I'll just take B-roll. I may have not been recording for the last 2. I have 2 cameras here. I may not have been recording the last 2. Look, B-roll is my friend. I just wanted to save some time. There's nothing particularly extraordinary that sets this apart directly. You know, like some Lacunosa, they're very, very, very distinct. I'll show you one that's quite distinct in a moment. And, you know, the tiny leaf Durian Perangin is quite distinct. Some of them, they really have characteristics that are like unmistakable. When you see it, you know what it is. This one, it's a Lacunosa. It's really tiny because I just got it like, I think last month, if I recall. And this is Borneo Red. So this was sold to me as Borneo, this was sold to me as Borneo Red from the same vendor. So I can't tell you what the difference is. I mean, it is showing some red. It arrived that way. The leaves do look different from the Borneo. I don't know if it's being picked up on the camera, but the Lacunosa Borneo over here definitely has more definition to the leaves compared to the Lacunosa Borneo Red. But it could be conditions, you know, if I keep them both under the same exact conditions, which I am, for some period of time, I don't know, will they end up being the same plant? Somebody asked me in the Discord server if there were 2 different types of Hoya Sulawesiana, because someone was selling a Hoya Sulawesiana, and then they were also selling a Hoya Sulawesiana Red for a higher price, and the photos showed red leaves. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's only one type of Hoya Sulawesiana that is recorded, and it's quite possible that there are many vendors who are trying to sell the same plant with sun stress for a higher price, kind of pretending that it's a different plant. Sometimes the color after a Hoya name does indicate the color of the flower. For example, I have Hoya Lobi and I have Hoya Lobi Red. And that indicates that with Hoya Lobi Red, it's the bloom in this case that has a more red color compared to the original Hoya Lobi bloom. With the Sulawesiana, it seemed pretty clear to me that somebody was just selling a sun-stressed Hoya and pretending that it was something else and not really giving further details about that. So I was really curious. That's kind of why these were cheap. So I decided to buy the Borneo and the Borneo Red to see, does one sun stress and one not? You know? It could just be that this one does turn pink under the sun and this one does not, but they're both from Borneo. They're from different parts of Borneo. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Now this is a really distinct Hoya. This is Hoya EPC329, and I think that this one is also known as Mr. Tent. I can't confirm that because I have looked up. Oh wait, I wanted to show you. There's a peduncle. There's a little peduncle on him. If I can get it to focus, there's a little peduncle. He's busted a couple of peduncles. He's trying to bloom, but I think I accidentally let him go too dry. I've looked up Mr. Tent on the internet, and I have found 2 different ascension numbers associated with the cultivar Mr. Tent. The thing is, I can't find any information about where it came from, what it is, who named it, what it's named after. its origin, like nothing. I can't find any information about Mr. Tent. So I don't know who started calling it Mr. Tent. I don't know why it's called Mr. Tent. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, this is just Hoya Lacunosa EPC329. That is just a really beautiful Hoya if you're into Lacunosa and that sort of like really cool defined like 8-pack leaf, then you might like EPC329. Hoya Lacunosa Laos Splash. Obviously, it's from Laos and it's got splash. It's a lovely Hoya. It's really beautiful. It's very different from the Hoya that I just previously talked about, EPC329, because it doesn't have those ripples in it at all. This is definitely not your 8-pack Hoya Lacunosa. But what does make it very distinct is the gorgeous splash pattern on the leaves, and the leaves turn this gorgeous rosy pink color under the light. And even though this one is kept pretty far under my Soltech Solutions lights, it still turns pink. I mean, the lights are so freaking great. It turns this gorgeous pink color. Fast growing Hoya, does excellent in pond. Many people covet. And I have it. Sorry. All right, moving right along to this little guy, which was sold to me as Lacunosa heart-shaped leaves. And it does indeed have heart-shaped leaves. And it is a beautiful little Hoya, and it has bloomed for me. I bought it from a woman who lives not far away from me, actually. She has a massive Hoya collection. It was amazing to find out that she lives like literally miles away, and she has like over 200 Hoyas in her collection. I never imagined that somebody else who was completely obsessed with Hoyas would live anywhere near me, but I have visited her home a couple of times. Very lovely person, as you can imagine, because she loves Hoyas. And she gave this to me. She has this huge plant, it's really gorgeous, and she told me that it's Lacunosa heart-shaped leaves, the real thing, and that you'll sometimes find Lacunosa heart-shaped leaves, but it's not actually Lacunosa heart-shaped leaves. I didn't fully understand the situation because I have never seen Hoya Lacunosa heart-shaped leaves being sold, I guess, not on the internet, not anywhere. What I suspect, however, is that this might be Hoya krohniana, like the real Hoya krohniana. But that is like a subject that I don't know a whole lot about. Like, I'm quite confused about what actually differentiates Hoya Lacunosa from Hoya krohniana. It's something I haven't yet researched extensively, so, you know, don't expect me to give you any insight here. But I suspect that this might be Hoya krohniana if it is indeed its own species. But I'm going to continue calling this Hoya Lacunosa heart-shaped leaves because that's what it was sold to me as. Until I find out otherwise. Next in my list of lovely, lovely Lacunosa is, now this one is called Hoya Lacunosa Cikidian Java. Now my problem with this being called Cikidian Java is that I can't figure out where the heck that is. Of course, we all know, like, Java exists. Java is a place, so it clearly comes from Java. Cikidian is the thing I can't figure out. I've Googled Cikidian alone. I've Googled Cikidian Java. I've gone to the Java Wikipedia page and I've tried to find words that are maybe like a misspelling, or that, you know, Cikidian could be a misspelling of, and I can't find any information on that. So if you know why it's called Cikidian Java, let me know in the comments down below. It has really big, beautiful leaves. Again, showing that wonderful asymmetry. It's just kind of like, it's a clumsy looking plant, and I just really adore it. It's shiny. It's definitely I said that in the worst. It's shiny. It's definitely shinier than any other Lacunosa that I have. So I hope you enjoy that one. It's definitely one worth having. I just cannot wait for all of these to bloom. The next one I have is a little tiny, tiny baby. It is growing though. It's doing really well under my mother lights in my Redsta in my bedroom, which, by the way, I will give, you know, like a Redsta tour soon. At the moment, it's not full. I have to, to put more plants in it. Believe it or not, believe it or not, I have over 700 plants at this point. I mean, most of them are like small plants that are in propagation boxes, which I'm going to sell. But with over 700 plants, I still have space. I'm a very organized person with a lot of shelves. So I still have space in my Redsta, and I just have to rearrange things a little bit so that I can give like a really nice tour of my Redsta. I just have to figure out what I want to keep in my Redsta, and I haven't gotten that quite figured out yet. This is Lacunosa IML 1039 from Bogor, Java, which is a place, and we know where it is. And you know, it's just a teeny tiny thing. So it's hard to tell really distinctive characteristics of this Hoya, but it does seem to be like a bit darker in color. It seems like if it's exposed to brighter light conditions, it gets kind of like darker margins. I can't totally verify that. It's just kind of what I'm seeing from keeping it really close beneath the mother lights that I have in my Redsta. Anyway, it's very adorable. It's very cute. I can't wait to see it grow up and be a big boy. Next, and look, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I came here for Lacunosa, but like this is so many Lacunosa, Betsy. You asked for this. I told you I have a lot of them, and you asked for this repeatedly. Many of you were like, show us the Lacunosa. So here I am, I'm showing you the Lacunosa, and I know now we're probably at like the 30-minute mark. And you're like, enough is enough. But no, it's not enough. It's never enough. So what I have is Lacunosa, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, Khao Luang, long leaves. Apparently long leaves is what distinguishes it, and it really does have long leaves. So I'll be darned if this plant does not have long leaves. I would say the thing that makes it the most distinct are the really long leaves. They're such cute little baby leaves. When the baby leaves come out, they're so teeny tiny, and you know they're gonna grow up and be so big. It is native to Thailand. Khao Luang. I'm sorry if I'm misspelling it. Pronouncing it. You know what? They're all lovely. I have said lovely 22. You know what? Turn it into a drinking game. I don't know what to tell you. I've probably said lovely like 80 times in this entire video thus far. I think they're all lovely. Otherwise I wouldn't have them. It's a beautiful Hoya. The next one, however, super cute. Super freaking cute. This is Hoya Poonsak. This is an adorable little Hoya. You know what it looks like? It looks like Hoya 329. The, possible Mr. Tent, but tiny. And it's similarly tiny to the Durian Perangin Hoya, which is tiny. It's tiny like that, but the leaves are shaped differently. Like they're more long, and they definitely it looks like a tiny EPC329. Ascension numbers are hard, folks. It's just. I love this Hoya so much. I love it so much. I want to eat it. Don't do that. It's not safe to eat Hoyas. But it's just like it's one of those. I want to hug it. It's so cute. It's so cute. I just love it so much, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection. And when I bought it kind of on a whim. Well, I mean, let's be honest, it's not on a whim. I saw a Lacunosa and I was like, I will take it. Thank you very much. Give that to me. I won't lie. But I didn't know like how tiny the leaves were, because the photos on the vendor's site don't show the measurements or anything. And there's no, like banana for size. So I didn't know how tiny the leaves would be. And it's a very, very cute plant. And I think if you like little leaf Hoyas, I know that most people are obsessed with like big fat leafed Hoyas. People have Calistophylla and Finlaysoni for their big decorative leaves. But if you are a person who loves like Minutiflora, like me, or Hoya Bella, or I don't know, Walliana. What are some other little leaf Hoyas? It's a really adorable Really cute Hoya. You get yourself a Poonsak, son. It's adorable. Next I have Hoya snowcaps. I don't know if it's snowcap or snowcaps with an S. I don't know. I have no idea. It was sold to me as snowcaps with an S, so that's how I've written it on the label. And it's a very, very cute little Hoya. It's more similar to the heart-shaped leaf Hoya, which, you know, could be krohniana. Again, depending on if that is its own species or if it's not its own species, I don't know. I am not a professor, okay? Just obsessed with Hoyas. When I first got it, it didn't seem to look too much like snowcaps to me, and I guess it was just, you know, the environmental conditions of which the woman was keeping it in. So the leaves were like this super light color. But since I've been keeping it in my tent under really nice light, oh, it's just developed this beautiful punch of color, and the splash is just gorgeous. It's a fantastic Hoya, and the new growth is pinkish red, like a burgundy. Some of these Hoyas have like really long aerial roots, and it's because I keep them in my tents in really high humidity. And when a Hoya is in very high humidity, it develops really intense aerial roots. So there's nothing wrong with these Hoyas that have these really long aerial roots. There's nothing strange about them. It's just that they're in a really high humidity environment. It's really cute. I have no idea where it got its name. I don't know if it is a hybrid, because I often just see it being sold as Lacunosa snowcaps. And, you know, there are so many people who don't understand the usage of single quotation marks around a hybrid, or when to use it or when not to use it, etc. So all I can say is that it's a cute Hoya, and I can't give any very exact details because it's so hard to research those things sometimes on the internet and to find out the true origin of Hoya. Next, Lacunosa yellow from Indonesia. Very nice, very nice. Very nice specimen that we have here. Very nice specimen, folks. It's a really nice little Lacunosa. It is a bit different from the other ones. It has this kind of, I don't want to say dullness. Dullness makes it sound boring. There is a texture to the leaves that makes it different from any of the other Hoyas here. And I don't know why it's called Lacunosa yellow. It must have something to do with the flower, but I don't know what the flower of this looks like in comparison to other Lacunosas, so I really can't expand further upon that. All I know is it's from Indonesia, but it does have this beautiful kind of ombre effect from the center of the leaf outward. You know, the margins, the outer margins don't turn black, but they do darken a bit, and I haven't paid a lot of attention to this Hoya in my collection. In fact, I lost it the other day. It took me half an hour to find the darn thing because I was trying to show it on the Discord server, and it was like hidden under my Hoya Svetlana leaf, which is really big. So it took me a while to hunt it down. It's growing really quickly in my tent, and you know, I've really fallen in love with it. Sometimes I buy a plant simply because it's a Lacunosa or it resembles Lacunosa in some way, and then when it arrives, it's only after some time that I really start to fall in love with it, and yeah, I just really, I don't know, I like that plant. I don't know, I'm running out of things to say about Lacunosa. Can you blame me? I've gone through quite a few. I've gone through like 17. So, next, I have Hoya Lacunosa black leaves. Sometimes this is sold as krohniana black leaves. I'm gonna call it Hoya Lacunosa black leaves because I believe it was, I have, the tag says krohniana. It was sold to me as Lacunosa black leaves. And I know I compared it to Black Queen in a previous video. It is very different from Black Queen. Black Queen has longer leaves, and before I sun stressed it, it was very black. Like the leaves were legit like a rich black color. I think I made the error of sun stressing it. But Lacunosa black leaves, oh, it's just wonderful. It's just a happy little Hoya. It's just like, you can't go wrong with this one. It's got this rich color to the leaves. It's got a bit of splash. It has that like lovable asymmetry to each leaf. Every single one is different than the last. And yeah, it's a wonderful plant. I can't wait for it to bloom. Those are all my actual Lacunosa variety plants. but I also have some hybrids. So I would love to show you the hybrids that I have. So I have Elle, and my gosh, is this a beautiful Hoya. You'll see in the B-roll that the young leaves, especially if it, actually this one is not under very high light. I keep this one on the second shelf in my grow tent, so it's only under medium light conditions. And you'll see that when the leaves come in, they have this rosy red color with these vibrant green veins going through them. It's a beautiful Hoya, and it does have splash on it here and there. The entire thing is not splash shaped. This one has bloomed for me, and you know, just like any other Lacunosa, it has, there are like little fuzzy things floating around me. Where are they coming from and why are they here? I think one of them went in front of the camera earlier. This one bloomed for me pretty quickly after I brought it home. I'm hoping that it will bloom again. So that's one cultivar, cultivar Elle. I have Hoya Sunrise. These are two specimens that I am, you'll see they're numbered because I'm selling them. But I wanted to show both of them because there's a little bit of difference between both of them, which shows that with some Hoyas, with all Hoyas, there's variation depending on the growing conditions. And in these two, one of them seems to have gotten a bit more sun than the other one. One of them has like red on the outer margins, and one of them is just a little bit darker. So sometimes I get people messaging me asking me why their Hoya doesn't look like someone else's Hoya, even though it's the same species or the same hybrid. And it's really like, it all depends on growing conditions and all sorts of other factors, what you're watering it with, what your tap water is like, or, you know, it's like dozens of reasons why two Hoyas of the same species or the same cultivar can look a little bit different. Really beautiful. It's a mix between Hoya Lacunosa and Hoya Obscura. And if you put it in the sun, it will develop a beautiful red, rosy hue to it, just like Obscura would. But I don't keep these in really bright direct sun because I keep these in prop boxes. And so I actually kind of keep them away from the sun because the prop boxes will get really, really hot really fast if I keep them in the sun. Rebecca! Hoya Rebecca is a cross between Hoya Lacunosa Langkawi Island, which I don't yet have, and Hoya Obscura. And as you can see, it has these really beautiful, colorful leaves. It's normally green, but at this time, I'm keeping this one outside on my patio, and my patio gets full sun all day when it's sunny. Because don't forget, I live in Lille, France. So lately we have had really sunny weather. It's been really nice, not too hot. And so all of the Hoyas that I've been keeping out there, if they sun stress, they have turned this beautiful hue of like burgundy, red, rosy, blah, blah. And this is one of them. She's about to bloom. She has a little peduncle. She bloomed, I think, a week ago. And I'm pretty sure I took some photos of the blooms with my microscope. If I did, I can show them. There are so many people who adore Hoyas that sun stress. This is definitely one of them, since it has Obscura running through its veins. And next is Hoya Rebecca's sister, Hoya Rachel. This comes from the same seed pod as Hoya Rebecca. These two look very similar. They are two different plants, even though they came from the same seed pod. And I was really excited to find this because it's very difficult to get a hold of a Hoya Rachel, in my opinion. Like it was the first time that I had ever seen anyone selling Hoya Rachel, and I had looked for it, and I was very, very excited. So I'm really happy to have this as a part of my collection. I think it's a true gem. I don't know, like I just feel like a lot of people don't have Hoya Rachel in their collections, and it's very exciting for me. Not to mention it's beautiful because it looks like a Lacunosa. The last one that I have in my collection is truly unique because it came from Camilla. She's the president of the Swedish Hoya Society. I have mentioned this in a previous video. This is called CSG18-021. CSG, Camilla's initials, 18 being the year that this was planted from seed, and 021 being, the number, I don't know, her specific number for this particular seedling. So she had a Hoya Sunrise, and her Hoya Sunrise put out a seed pod, but she didn't know with what plant it had been pollinated, because she did not hand pollinate. It was cross-pollinated with something else, like a mystery plant, by an insect or something that got into her home or wherever her plant was located. So she ended up with some mystery Hoyas, and this is one of them. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a beautiful Hoya. As you can see, its sun stresses. I just love it. And the leaves are like, they're medium sized, they're beautiful. In my opinion, this is just like, it's one of the most beautiful Lacunosa hybrids in existence. When it arrived, because I bought some cuttings from her in February, yes, and she sent them, I received them on like February 15th or 16th. And then a week or 2 weeks after having all of those, I was checking on them and I discovered a seed pod on this one, which wasn't there when I received it. And I was like, oh my God, like I've never had a seed pod on a Hoya before, because I've only just started trying to hand pollinate Hoyas. I have posted a couple of videos on my Instagram and on my Patreon of, like the technique I'm trying to get down. It's very difficult to hand pollinate Hoyas due to their anatomy and structure. So I messaged her and told her, and she was very surprised herself. She had no idea that her plant had been pollinated. She didn't know what it was pollinated by or when it was pollinated or anything. The seed pod eventually, like, it came to fruition, it popped, and I planted all of those seedlings. So I can show you what they look like now. It's been 2 months. Let me get this and I'll show you what they look like now. I started the seedlings in one of these seedling starters. If you are interested in how to start Hoya seedlings, Amanda Law has a video, and that's like, I just used her technique and it was successful for me. So I'll share the link to Amanda Law's video down below if you're interested in how to start Hoyas from seed. And one of these days, if I am successful at cross-pollinating one of my Hoyas, which I'm desperately trying to do, I can make a video of my own. But so far, the untimeliness of these seeds popping open for me has not allowed me adequate time to prepare a video. So anyway, I started these seedlings in these seedling starters 2 months ago. And then I would say 4 or 5 days ago, I decided to put them in pots like this, 3 to 4 per pot. And this mix, I'm trying to graduate them to pon. So this mix is like basically the same sort of peat and high perlite content mix that I used for the seedling starter, with a bunch of pon in it as well. And then once they develop and grow bigger, I will just put them in pon, period. So I will be curious to find out what they look like. It could simply be that it was self-pollinated. For example, the plant CSG18-021 may have had an insect crawl across the flowers, and it was just self-pollinated. So this may simply be the same plant. She has no idea what it was cross-pollinated with. So anyway, that's what those little seedlings look like. And then it was a great surprise to me after all of that. I had hung this on the top of a pegboard that I have, which I'll show you soon, under some Soltex Solutions lights. And much to my surprise, like 2 weeks after, I think it was like a month after I had planted these seedlings in some seedling starters, it developed another seed pod from this same exact peduncle, which I didn't know could happen because it hadn't rebloomed. So it's another seed pod from the same peduncle. Like, I just imagined that if like 2 flowers were pollinated at the same time, it would just create 2 seed pods. No, not the case. Like a month later, it suddenly developed another seed pod. So now I have more seedlings. It's the gift that keeps on giving and giving. So I do have some new seedlings. I have 3 new containers of seedlings. I have no idea if they're the same seedlings as these. No idea. All we know is that CSG18-021 is the mother plant, and we don't know what the father plant is. Wow, that was quite an adventure. I will say, that was quite an adventure. I'm so happy that I get to go through all my, it's like playing with my Barbies, you know what I mean? Sometimes I just love to like open one of my tents and like just fiddle with my, like take all my plants out, look at them, inspect them, make sure that they're trellised well. It's like playing with my Barbies. Like as an adult, it's like playing with my toys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you really enjoyed this Hoya Lacunosa tour. You know, there are some Hoya Lacunosa that I really still want to get a hold of. This is not a complete collection. I am definitely gonna get my hands on some other Hoya Lacunosa. For example, Hoya Lacunosa variegata, which I showed in a previous video. It may have been 5 rare, I think it was my wish list. Yes, I made a wish list video. I think it's in that one, Hoya Lacunosa variegata. There's also a Hoya Lacunosa albo marginata, which is really beautiful. And Hoya Lacunosa leopard skin is one that I'm seeking out. There is something that's called Louisa's Silver, although it seems like other people are calling it other things. Like I said, silver this, silver that, silver goes, silver blah, hinting it. Hoya Lacunosa Silver Lime is another one that I really want. Those are the only ones that I can think of right now. If you know of any other Lacunosas down there, you'd better tell me. You better share them with me in the comments down below, because I need to get a hold of them. I need them. I'm serious. Anyway, I just want to thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. I know so many people wanted to see my Lacunosa collection, and I hope you're super content with this. I know this is probably going to be like an hour long, and I'm sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. Feel free to support me on Patreon. Feel free to support me on buymeacoffee.com. And feel free to join the Discord server. You will find a very kind and welcoming community there. By the way, I'm opening a Hoya shop in the next month. Have a good day. Kisses. Bye. A tremendous shout out to the people who support me on Patreon. My Hoya My Gosh patrons, Carolyn Green, Christina Greengrass, and Frederick Bowman. My Begonia buddies, Adam Banzoff, Anonymous Aardvark, Anne Margaret Moen, Casey Smirnotopoulos, Charlie Krabbycat, Darcy Levage, Aaron Mio, Fenner Lamb, Hannah Tranquil, Jordan, Kayla Mann, Kristen Moore, Leah A, Michelle Sadlowski, Robin L. Jennings, Samantha, Sherry Kumar, Tisha McCann, Una Umlaut, and Wendy Foreman. And my Pothos pals, Abby Estes, Amanda, Ashley Eagle, Brianna Phillips, Cece, Christina Wong, Claire Lynn, Elizabeth Mary, Elizabeth Velasquez, Emma Greenwood, James Kopp, Cassandra Lewis, Kayla Vavra, Kelly Ash, Kelly Westover, Lexi Haynes, Lydia, Lisa Glandon, Natalie Kenda, Nicholas Curtis, Olga, Plant Girl 50, Bree, Plantalenia, Sabrina C, Shelly Everett, Steve A, Tina Halberg, Vertigris Dreams, Wanyang Zhang, and Zen Simmer. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, all of the love that you show me on Patreon. I'll see you next time. And on Patreon.